Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited because today I have such an honor to sit with my friend of 15 years?
Yeah, just under.
But deep treasure, a person that has fully known me. And as you know, this is a series of episodes that we're doing on my book, No Longer Afraid.
Let's really talk about it.
Yes. Shay Arthur.
What's up?
Well, actually, your name is Natasha Shay Arthur.
Dang, you put all my secrets out there already.
You know what? The secret's out. Her real name is Natasha. And she is my Mexican soul sister. But truly, Shay, I am so honored that you would have this conversation with me because I've realized that people are a little bit afraid of this because it is called No Longer Afraid. Right. And I don't tell you what I'm going to ask you.
I know. I'm like, there's nothing you don't know about me, but I'm already kind of like, wait, what's she going to pull out of me?
Let's go.
So I'm kind of sitting on the edge over here.
I have absolutely loved our and friendship because we have seen each other in the good and the bad.
Absolutely.
In the ugliest.
Yes.
And lo and behold, God brought you into my life by moving you to the Pacific Northwest. We can touch on all the parts of the world that you have lived in, but you are a true born and bred Texan.
True.
Let's
proud
go.
To be.
Come
proud
on.
To be.
I'm proud
to be a Texan.
A Texan bestie because God knows how much I love the South.
True.
So I am excited. Yeah. No one makes me laugh like Shay.
Oh gosh.
There are very few people that make me laugh harder than this woman because we have just walked through a lot of life together.
It's
and no better way to process it than with laughter.
Yeah, and on a podcast.
Exactly.
Where everybody's listening. Of course we're going to do it this way. There's no other way. There's no other way. Bye. I'm in it. Let's go.
I love it. Okay, girl. Are you ready for the first question?
I never.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to know your craziest, most ridiculous childhood fear that you think is hysterical now.
Yeah. I think, man, I would go to say one that probably people don't know about. I don't know if I think it's funny now, but I was so embarrassed when I was little about it. But I would, if any of my childhood friends are watching, now you're going to know. You're going to be like, I knew something was off with her. And now you're going to know.
Let's go, girl.
We'll just kick it off. But I probably from the age of my mom's womb to the age of 15, probably, maybe touching 16, was scared to death to stay at anybody's house.
Really?
Yeah, like I couldn't tell you why. I can't even attach it to like a trauma or anything.
A mama's girl.
I would go to say I was a daddy's girl.
A daddy's girl.
And on the other side of that, my dad slept with me probably every night until I was 15.
That's precious.
I know. I don't know if that's a good thing. I think I turned out okay. I don't know. I mean, it wasn't weird or anything, but
what is it? What fear was coming at you?
I don't really know. I don't know if I don't recall being like super. Okay, this is the one fear I think that probably it touches on is my dad loved scary movies. So my mom would always tell my dad, they're not allowed to watch those movies you like, But my dad would always like, you can watch it. It's fine. You'll be fine. So I remember watching this one movie, which we're not going down this rabbit trail, but When a Stranger Calls Back, do not even go look that up. You're going to ruin your soul. But
this is how we start off.
Yeah. So I remember literally watching with my brother and my dad. My mom, I think, was out of town or something, of course. And I remember just being like, well, I want to watch it with them. Like, I'm going to hang out with my brother and my dad. And I was so scared. Wow. I was so scared. Like, there's this one scene and you like figure out the guys in the house. It's like that whole old school scary movie stuff. The worst. And from that point on, I just... every night I'm like, Dad, just lay with me till I fall asleep. Like, I don't even know if my mom slept with her husband for years because he was in bed with me.
Movies,
horrible.
Those horror movies,
I'm telling you, girl,
ruin people's lives.
They mess me up. And
oh my goodness.
Yeah. So even to the point, I remember probably being about 12-ish or 13, and big slumber party, all my friends hanging out.
Not you. You're trying to
No,
get
girl,
home.
I tried. I was like, okay, it's 1 a.m. I think everybody's asleep. I'm good. My dad taught me how to sneak out of the window. Cause he's just like, you need to learn how to stay over there. I'm like, no, Dad. Like, I would call him. I'd sneak to my friend. You know, it's back before like cell phones. So it's like, I would sneak to my friend's kitchen and be like, okay, call my dad. Dad, I need you to come get me. Like now, they're all asleep. Oh, God, you're staying there. I'm like, I'm gonna crawl out of this window. And he's like, who are you? And I was like, just come get me. And he would. And I remember the first time, I think when I was like 16 or something, I slept at somebody's house and I was fine. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and expose that, because I stayed at my house a lot.
Oh God. Now you can't keep
mom
me.
And dad around.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, now you can't keep me anywhere. I'm like, gotta go.
I love that. Yeah. I love that. Because you have lived in so many different places. It's
completely opposite of
Come on.
the identity that God had given me at a young age. It's
Isn't that
so
crazy?
telling. It's so telling.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that vulnerable fear in your childhood.
And if you're my old childhood friend, I'm sorry that I snuck out of your house and you got in trouble for it. I apologize.
Okay, well, really. Let's dive in to some deeper things.
That wasn't very deep for you? I'm just kidding.
Well, no, it is, because I think
I'm just joking.
Any fear that hinders us from being the true version of ourselves is a fear worth exposing.
Yeah, totally.
And talking about and letting go. And I have known it to be true that Shay Arthur be always exposing stuff.
Lord Jesus.
I mean, there is probably, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You used to be a crazy journaler. I don't know if you journal anymore.
Not near as much,
anymore.
But I've been trying to hop back in.
You have a way of vulnerably exposing so many lies and things that have like kept you back from being the true version of who you are, the version that God created you to be. And I've kind of watched that journey. I've been a part of it in the best ways and sometimes in painful seasons. But let me ask you this. What was one of the greatest fears that hindered you from discovering your true self and being your true self?
Yeah. I feel like there's probably a laundry list. If I'm being honest, I think that, like there is no, here's the one. I feel like it comes in shapes and forms in different seasons, but I would say the one that keeps coming to my heart right now is the fear of fully just being myself. The two lies I usually swing from, even up till this point at 38, is that I'm either not enough or I'm too much.
Oh,
right. And so, and it can
back
look
and forth.
Totally, absolutely, and and they're not fun ones to live in. But I would go to say that both of them keep me from my true self. 38 and single, and so there's that element of there's fear under that.
Wow.
And then there's the other side of like, but I'm not enough either. So it's like living in these two, it's a double bind at the end of the day. Like I can't win to win with both of these.
Absolutely.
But I would go to say, I could even look in high school, I can look in college, and I was facing these. I just didn't have verbiage for them.
Right.
So in friendships, I would bring my full self and it would be like too much. So it's like, oh, see, I am too much. And it would justify, right? Or the other side of that is I'm not bringing my full self and I'm not enough because there's not permission. I'm not giving myself permission to be fully who I am, or I'm not receiving permission from the other end to be fully me.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know.
What keeps you grounded and in the center?
Gosh, I would say I've only formed probably that center in the last few years. Like truly.
Wow.
I think a lot of the years behind me are very extreme.
Wow.
Where you see these chunks of my life where it's like I'm living in the lie I'm not enough.
That's mind-boggling to me because you are someone that has accomplished so much.
Sure, absolutely.
I mean, you've lived in third world countries. I mean, you've lived in Africa. I mean, doing the thing. Like, you're like Heidi Baker's spiritual daughter. Like, I feel like when I look at someone like you, not knowing the full version of who you are, not knowing some of these things and struggles behind the scenes, I could easily say, wow, well, Shay's just doing it. Like, she's got it all together and she's going after it. Yet here you are, just like wide open.
Absolutely. There's no other way to live. I think it's hard with social media. It's hard to really know somebody when you're just getting a peek of their moment where maybe they were balanced, maybe they were centered. And they like brought their full self. But I still think underneath some of those great moments and great stories, there was still a girl that didn't think she was enough and actually found myself giving overly to look a certain way, even in a third world country, right? Like, it's those sneaky snakes, right? It's the little foxes that come in that nobody else can necessarily see in your garden. But I could sit there and you think, man, Shay did this. And I'm thinking, yeah, like I did do that. Also, I'm thinking, man, like I was burnt out and overly exhausted because I didn't know how to say no because I was trying to measure up to everybody.
Let's go there.
Around me. Right. So there's the idea of like, you know, how we project people, we see people. Then there's this is actually what was going on.
It's so funny because I get this all the time.
Sure.
Wow, Anastasia, you're just so anointed. You're just so gifted. There's so much in your life.
Absolutely.
How easy it is for you to just go up there and do the thing.
Right.
Go up to that person and, you know, release truth over them. Or I was like, you don't know the cost of this because
absolutely
every day there's a decision to lean in to truth.
Yep.
Or to just live in the default.
Absolutely.
This lie of who I am.
Sure. Absolutely.
How do you combat that?
Yeah. I think multiple things I think need to come into play as we mature.
Yeah.
I think in my younger years, I didn't have any idea how to combat that. I would just swing from one extreme to the other and be like, what is wrong with me? I'm not in the circus, but boy, I feel like I'm in the circus inwardly. But I didn't know how to tell anybody that, you know, like I didn't know, like our generation being in our older 30s, like we didn't really, we had parents that didn't really talk about anything. So it's kind of like, who do I even go talk to? Like, what do I even say to them? Like, it's going to ruin everything. Right. And so I think there's this idea of like, okay, so how do I navigate that? And I think for me in my older years, I've learned to, before I seek affirmation of a human, to actually seek affirmation of the Father.
Wow.
And that actually helps me stay centered.
Wow.
That at the end of the day, I had a moment one time where a really great friend of mine, Will Hart, looked at me and he said, Shay, I was bawling and there was just some crazy drama happening in my life. And I was literally on a ministry tour with him.
Not drama and
Shay's not drama. And I remember like I don't even think he had really any idea of exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
And he just looked at me and he goes, Shay, the Lord's asking you, but did you do it with love? But did you love? And I remember like
Heidi statement.
What the heck? Like, did I love? Yeah, but apparently I loved wrong. And apparently like I loved too much. And apparently I gave myself too much. And love is just, I hate love. Love hurts. Like the song rings true. Love hurts. And I remember going to bed that night like, yeah, this sucks. And yeah, there's lots of pain under this. And I brought my full self, but I did do it with love. And so he can cover that. And so I think there's a tension there, right? But at the end of the day, I tend to try to ask myself, did I do it from a pure heart? Even if it was misunderstood, even if I was too much for somebody else in friendship or whatever, but did I do it with a pure heart?
Wow.
And then I have to lean and I have to trust the Lord with the rest of it. So that was
so good. Oh man. Okay. So kind of like switching gears, but yet still in that
Take
same
a left turn
vein. I love how much you expose self-hatred. That's a biggie.
Yeah.
More people are struggling with self-hatred than they know.
Yeah.
Right? Because you gotta like admit to yourself.
Absolutely.
Hence your burnout. Like
totally.
If you would have kept going, I mean, there's something to be pleased with yourself about. Their accomplishments,
sure.
you know. But when you stop, self-hatred has a way of just like whoosh, coming up. I want to know, I know like you have a whole journey on, like with this specifically. You talk about it in a way, I love this so much. You talk about people that will like externally cut themselves. That deal with, you know, cutting. But you go as far to say is like, man, I didn't cut myself externally, but I sure did it on the inside.
Yeah.
What was that? And talk about that and expose that. And what is the fear behind self-hatred?
Ooh, okay. Well, let's just go there. I had just come off the mission field. I was living with some friends and their family in Georgia. And God got me, and keep in mind, I'm literally going to say this the way that I literally mean it. God got me to sit still because my self-hatred could hide under busyness, because I could applaud for myself and I could easily like cancel the lies of self-hatred because it's like, yeah, but I'm doing something. So yeah, whatever.
It's holy work.
It's a holy work. Okay. Like, hello, and start the gospel. Okay. So, but I think that he got me to sit still. And I think the reason that you said this, well, just literally a few sentences ago, that a lot of people actually struggle with this more than they know. And I think the reason they are not aware of it is because our world applauds busyness.
Wow. And
so God got me to sit still. And that is literally a modern day miracle if you know me. So, but he got me to sit still. Wow. And when I sat still, so much came up, right? Like, and it was not applaudable things. It was things that so much shame had wrapped themselves in, and just interwoven lies and insecurities and just failure and all these things. And I remember I was just sitting in a living room in Georgia, and I knew all of it was coming up. And I just didn't have words for it. I was like, I don't know what this is, but I don't like it. Like, I kind of want to just go run back to Mozambique and hide out, right? Oh, I just want to go
hiding out on the mission field.
Well, hey, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Okay. The thing is, you don't have to get on a plane to hide out, but that was just my choice of drug, if you will. And so, I was just praying, and I was just like, Lord, what is this? And I remember so gently the Father said, Shay, do you want to see a picture of your heart? And I was like, yeah, because I literally was so oblivious. Like, honestly, I was so innocent in the best way. I'm like, yeah, I would love to see a picture of my heart. Wow, what a gift. The Father would show me my heart, guys. I'm so prideful in this moment. Yay. And he literally shows me a picture of this busted up, beaten, scratched, bloody. I remember seeing like footprints on this heart. And I'm like, how do you even see a footprint on a heart? And so he zooms into this heart, and I'm like, there's no way. Like, this must be the neighbor's heart. Like, you must have pulled the wrong one down from my vision, God. This is not accurate. And I start going, but this is accurate. If I'm really honest with myself, this is actually how I feel. And I remember asking him about everything. Like, what are these cuts? And he said, Shay, these cuts, maybe you haven't cut your skin. Maybe you haven't cut in the natural. You know, people tend to associate self-hatred with cutting. Yes and no.
Yeah.
But inwardly, I knew I'd used my words to cut myself and entertain those words. And then I remember asking him about this footprint that I kept seeing on there. And he was like, you've let people trample on you.
Wow.
And so just everything, he just zoomed in. And I remember just being like, how do I even fight this beast? Like, how do I even venture into what seems so bigger than me?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of the story, the entrance way of how he started coming at me a little bit in the best way. about self-worth. Now, I want to say self-worth can be a very trendy word. And I tend to be like, hey, it's not that kind of self-worth. It's the worth that it took me to find his face so that I could actually see my value. Because what happens is we run to the world to tell us our worth.
Yeah.
And to a degree, that'll get you a few steps ahead. But the truth is, it won't keep you. It can't sustain you because the world is fleeting. And every 10 seconds, it changes. So I don't have the pace to keep up with that change. I tend to be a little bit slower in my pace. And I don't actually think it's humanly possible to keep up with the culture's pace. But different podcast episode. But it took me that long to sit with him and actually get his face on me, to actually let his countenance shine on me, if you will, to actually start to peel off, self-hatred, self-punishment, rejection, projected rejection. So you don't even have to reject me. I'll reject me. So you don't get the luxury of even coming at me, right? Because there's just, the Grand Canyon between us. And so, yeah,
I think it's important what you just said about self-worth. I look at the commandment that we have in the Bible to love God with everything and love our neighbor, but there's no love yourself. Because in beholding, we become one with him.
Right.
And actually our old self dies. So why do we need to love a self that's not
dead? That's supposed to be in the ground, buried and
exactly.
Felicia. Yeah.
And so I think in loving the Lord, in loving him with all of our heart, with all of our soul, with all of our mind, we actually become one with him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we love what he loves.
Yes.
Because we see that reflection in his eyes.
Yes.
And that's powerful because you're right. I think there's also in our culture like a really, really big emphasis on self-worth and yes,
self-care.
But
yes,
what is that?
Right. And as a disciple of Christ, what is that?
Exactly.
And that's been a long journey for me.
So good.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but I think that there's so much shame that came attached with self-hatred, because I would start to share with people about that story, and then you kind of touch on other people's shame, but you don't realize that's what you're touching on. And so it was kind of this toggle thing when I was going through like the big chunk of it, which was probably about 6-7 years ago. And I would share, and I remember the Lord spoke to me one day on a walk, and he's like, Shay, you need to call your mom. And I was like, call my mom? Like, okay. And he's like, you need to call her because it's actually generational. I had no idea.
Wow.
I had no idea. And so I called my mom, and thank God she's just a woman that's like, yeah, let's get healing. And I'm like, okay, like I'm blessed to have a mom like that. But she started to tell me like her own shame and then her own self-hatred. Right. And so she's at this point, she's like 70s, probably like early 70s, 70 years old. And then she starts to tell me about my grandma.
Wow.
And her wrestle with self-hatred. And I just, right then and there, I was like, no more. Like, I'm putting a stake in the ground. And if I have to live every day calling my closest friend saying, this is how I feel today, this is what's going on through my head today, if it takes me 20 years to get over this hump, it will be the biggest victory. It's not seeing a leper healed. It's not seeing the demoniac healed. It's not seeing blind eyes open, as much as that has been an amazing part of my story. This will be the greatest feat of my life, is coming out of partnership with self-hatred and shame. Because I would say shame is the silencer on the gun, right? Other things are shooting the bullets, but the shame attached to it is a silencer. It silences you. And so that's my whole life. It's been trying to silence me, but it took me sitting down in the green pasture that I didn't want to sit in to actually let it come up, to get dealt with. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 things. How does one uncover that there's self-hatred?
Yeah.
And 2, what steps do they take?
Sure. Practicals. I love practicals. It's hard because there's not a formula.
I know.
But
it's a step.
Yeah, for sure. I love a good step. Sometimes that's all you can do on your journey is one step, and it's a big step. I would say some ways to know roughly that you're struggling with self-hatred is living in between those lies. Like what pendulum swings are you sitting in? And I think sometimes in the Christian world, I love being a Christian, love Jesus, but the truth is we wear humility in a false way. And so it's like I can hide my self-hatred under false humility and never show up to the table. But I can I can literally sit at the table, kind of. Like I will make everybody at the table feel like I'm at the table, but I'm not actually at the table. But because I'm affirming everybody else at the table, it sounds like I'm at the table because I know who else is there.
Wow.
But I'm actually probably not even in the room inwardly because I've already put myself way back in the garage in the basement. So it's kind of like that false humility that we applaud. Like, oh, you're so meek. You're so quiet. Actually, I'm not. I actually don't feel qualified to be in this room right now.
Wow.
So I'm going to go hide out. And so I would say some ways to know that maybe you struggle with self-hatred. And I would even go to say wrapping it in some religious verbiage is, you're not able to celebrate yourself. You're not able to see your own worth. Even when someone's telling you affirmations, you're not able to receive them because you live with you. So no, I can't receive that, but thank you. But I can't receive that inwardly. I'll look like I'm receiving it, but I'm not really.
Or just quick to put yourself down.
And that was, I would say for me, a big one was, and you probably bumped into it with me plenty of times.
I would call it out, girl.
Yeah, and still do on occasion when I'm like struggle bussing. Let's be honest. Like you'll be like, why did you just say that over yourself? I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm still in progress, homegirl. Like But I think it's the idea of like I'm already, in my opinion, not worth a lot. So I'm just gonna put myself down so that you don't get the opportunity to do that. You don't get the luxury. Right? Because it's self-protection. So I would say the first thing you could see is start to see the way that you're protecting yourself and actually become aware of it. I'm not like, there's awareness and then there's self-infliction where you're just like pulling up every stone. I would say invite the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit, is this something I deal with? What does it look like? How does it manifest in my life?
Wow.
Because I know for me at that point, I was just like every stone was unturned and I'm like, that's it. And that's it. And that's it. And he's like, well, calm down, Linda, calm down. Like you need to take it down a couple notches, that's actually not self-hatred. That's actually humility. And that's actually beautiful. Wow. That looks like me. And so I would say, obviously the Holy Spirit, that's what I love about the Holy Spirit is because he literally leads and guides you.
So good.
And so first and foremost, I would invite him into the whole process. But I would go say just start becoming aware.
Come on.
How do you protect yourself? How do you talk about yourself? I would say that's a big indicator because what I've noticed about like people that maybe they don't have like a huge, struggle with self-hatred. Maybe they seem very confident people, but I would say people that I don't know. I think the enemy tempts all of us to hate ourselves because he would love that. And so it looks different for every person. But I would say the most healthy people in my life that don't struggle a lot or don't have like an open door to self-hatred are really confident people, but they actually walk humble and they are able to see everybody in the room, not just themselves. So, okay, I don't even know if that answered your question, but I would say some practicals.
So good.
Man, I would just obviously.
I'll give you a practical.
Go ahead, because I'm obviously struggling.
No, you're not struggling. I think you're living in the practical. I think community.
Yeah,
and allowing people into the blind spots. We have this thing in our friend group where we go confrontation.
Yeah,
where we go after stuff. Right? It's so
very
beautiful
true.
because if I
it's true.
if I say something in my false humility or in my moment of weakness, like, you better believe my friends better call me out on that.
Absolutely.
Or the people in my life that I have given permission to, right?
Sure.
And so I think building that feedback culture in my life, it has helped me so much. Like, false humility is a nasty little spirit. It's like, it's disgusting.
It is. It really is. We do. Like, I think that in our friend group, we have this ability to be like, come at me because I know you love me.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not Stasia coming at Shay because if she wants a one up on Shay, it's Stasia going because you're not acting like the way God intended you to be. Yeah. And I mean, even moving here, we had to walk through this because I moved here. Like, what the heck am I doing out here? I just left the ghetto of Atlanta. God told me to rest out here. I was like a cuss word again all over. Like, you want me to sit down again, God? Like, what?
And do nothing?
Really? Like, what's going to be exposed this time? And literally, I remember sitting with you at a restaurant and you're just like, Shay, like, I feel like this, and this. And I was like, dang, you're right. Like, I can't even argue. And that sucks because I really want to defend myself, even though I know I don't need to defend myself with you as my friend. It was that thing of like, oh gosh, like, she sees me and I didn't even know it was going on really until you put words on it. So I would say community 1,000%. Yeah. And I think we can use that word very flippantly these days because everything's communal and everything's like, everybody's trying to be a tribe, you know, and everybody's just like family. I would go to say that Jesus had 3. And I would go to say, like, to have those few people that aren't just safe for your triggers, eye roll, but that you can actually bring your wholehearted self to them. Like, there's times in my own struggles with purity and other things like that, which is like a whole nother episode, where I've literally called Stasia, like, hey, like, I'm struggle bussing. Like, hey, your girl's really struggling over here in her singleness. And then there's times where I'm like, she'll check in on me and I'm like, girl, nothing. It's been great. Like, I'm doing so well. And I think it's each season, the light looks different. So
I just love how you model that because I think as a single woman, it's so easy to actually draw back and not allow transformation to take place. Because I think in marriage, when we're growing, it's almost like a fast track oftentimes because you don't have a choice. Vic and I talk about the magnifying glass a lot. But in our singleness, right, it's easy to just like draw back and be like, well, I'll only allow certain parts of me to be known. Yeah. The best parts.
Absolutely. Of course. I would never. You know? I would never. Yeah, right. Totally.
But I just believe in that, like, the blind spot ministry is so good it's
the most fruitful ministry,
when
honestly.
We have those people who we can come to and be like, hey, can you speak into the blind spots? Because they're blind spots because I can't see them.
Well, yeah, and it is different. I remember you came to me one time and you're like, Shay, I realized like you don't have a husband to like basically like pick you apart like in the best way. And I was just like, you're right. And then I was like, I remember like giving you and Marge like, hey, like you have permission to come at me.
So good.
And so I think some of that is you find your worth in the light.
Absolutely. Get those relationships in your life. And if someone isn't that for you, then you be that for someone.
Well, that was going to be my other thing. Because I think sometimes we're sitting back waiting to someone pick me. Like, and the truth is sometimes you just got to go out and become the thing that you're longing for. And so
set the table that you want to sit at.
It's true. It's true.
It is.
It's true.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, girl. It's powerful. I love every time you share on about this journey specifically. I feel like it dismantles something, especially being the fact that it was generational. And now that you got to break free from that generational thing of self-hatred, I think it's such a powerful and important topic. And guys, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being a part of this conversation. Follow my friend Shay Arthur because she's got her book. She got the gold nuggets. No, I love it. We're here to champion each other.
Of course.
And thanks for joining.
The real thing is go get her book.
Come on.
I mean, honestly.
Amen. No false humility. Get the book.
No, there's nothing false there. Honestly, her stories in that book have changed my life and touched me in ways that you know, like that really you put words to, you're like, oh, that's me too.
So sweet.
So yeah.
Thanks, friend.
Do yourself a bless up and go bless yourself.
Let's go. See y'all next time.
Ciao.